Hi, everybody. My name is John Pizutelli. I'm with the Lindenberger Group. Um, with me today is Linda Weinzler, and we are going to be talking about the topic of self-awareness and why it's so important for leaders. Uh, Linda's been a senior consultant with the Lindenberger Group for a few years now. She's got over 30 years of experience in coaching and training people, and she's also led several business teams herself. Hi, Linda. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, John. Good to see you.
So, self-awareness, this is one of those topics where I always think I'm self-aware until friends, family, people I'm close to remind me differently on occasion. What is self-awareness? Let's start off with that. How are you defining self-awareness?
Well, let me be honest. I'm going to quote Forbes magazine and some of the researchers who are smarter than I am. But they say self-awareness is the conscious knowledge of our character, our values, and our feelings. And specifically, it's knowing our own internal mental and emotional states so that it helps us recognize how those states impact our relationships and our responses to others and to the situations that we find ourselves in. So really, it's an essential part of self-development. I mean, you say that you think you're self-aware. We all do. And until we are faced with the fact that maybe we didn't know something about ourselves. So when we analyze ourselves and we take the time to actually try to be more self-aware and are able to recognize and connect with our emotions and our core values, we are practicing self-awareness. We're practicing that developmental growth.
So, this sounds a lot like emotional intelligence. How is self-awareness similar or different from the general term we all know as emotional intelligence?
They are so closely connected, John. Emotional intelligence actually builds off of the whole concept of self-awareness. It's self-awareness is the foundation. Many people have probably familiar with emotional intelligence from Daniel Goleman's book in 1995 called Working with Emotional Intelligence.
Mhm.
And he talks about a four-stage model of what emotional intelligence is. Well, the bottom of that model, the very foundation, is self-awareness. So if I know what I'm good at, what scares me, what gets in my way, I'm talking about understanding myself better. Once I do that, then I can take the next step on the emotional intelligence model, which is to look at how do I manage myself better. So, what do I do when I'm triggered? How do I manage conflict better? How do I stop doing the things that are getting in my way? So, those two elements of it, the self awareness and the self management, are all very internally focused. Then I take the step to be inclusive to social awareness. That's the third level of the emotional intelligence model that says, for a leader particularly, it's looking at the in people that they work with in their environment. What are the expectations for people in this company or this organization? What does our culture demand of us? What do the norms for success look like? Am I representing those norms well as a leader? And then the last step of that is saying, how do I manage the relationships I have with people based upon my understanding of them? So how can I build better trust with my team? What is my team worried about? How do I address that? How is my leadership style either impacting or minimizing the success of my group? So each step builds on the other, and they you learn from the insights of the lower levels that allow you to create more improved relationships and better business results.
Okay. So you've already touched on some of the benefits for the person, for the leader who can raise their level of self-awareness. Talk a little bit more about some of the benefits, not just for that person, but the people around them in a work environment and for the organization overall.
If I know my strengths and my liabilities, I can build off my strengths, I can compensate for my liabilities, and I don't let my emotions control me. So I'm more receptive to understanding the people that I work with. I'm more conscious of, because I know my own emotions, I'm more conscious of the emotions that other people have. And that knowledge allows me to look at how do I think I'm impacting them, and how might they think I'm impacting them differently. So when I recognize those differences, I can then take that information, that knowledge, and integrate it into my own self view so that I start leading them rationally rather than reactively. Kind of a succinct way of looking at this is if I'm more self-aware, I become the type of leader that I aspire to be. And that can be very difficult for most of us.
You know, I love this idea of self-awareness because it's one of those core things. It becomes so clear to me that not only can it help me at work, help me working with the team, help me working at all levels of the organization, but it's one of those things that the better I get at my own level of self-awareness and really understanding my own triggers and helping me with my own emotional regulation, the more it can help me not just in work, but in all other aspects of life. This is one of the reasons why I love this topic so much. Um, can you give me an example of maybe somebody that you've worked with, and what it was like for them to develop their own self-awareness?
Um, yeah, actually I can. I worked with I coached a senior level individual who was very knowledgeable, very smart, very committed to the organization, but she had an unfortunate, um, I guess I'd say, a habit of causing the people around her to feel devalued. She needed to be the smartest one in the room. And she was at risk of losing her position because everyone kept quitting. They didn't want to work with her. So we worked very much about in helping her understand what her behaviors were that were causing her to come across as if she was not listening to other people's point of view, that she didn't care about how other people saw situations, that everything had to be her way. And it was challenging for her. But over time, she was able to recognize what she was doing and make changes so that people became more willing to work with her. And one of the things that's so important for leaders to remember is that if your team doesn't feel like you're invested in them, that you're listening to them, you're throwing out all of your opportunities for creativity and innovation. And we all know that if a leader can't create a scenario where people can be innovative, they're not going to be successful in our current environment.
So I may think I'm self-aware, but I may not be as self-aware as I think I am. Or I might have better times, and under times of stress, I may be less self-aware of what may be triggering me. So um, how can people develop greater self-awareness? What can we do both as individuals, and what can the organization do to help develop self-awareness in others?
Well, fortunately, there are a lot of options. One of the things that a lot of people use are self-assessments or self-awareness instruments, personality assessments. You may have heard of Myers-Briggs type indicator, the DISC, the Hogan assessments, and there are some very specific emotional intelligent inventories out there. The good news is that they are pretty easy to take. They're relatively inexpensive, and they have high levels of reliability and validity statistics behind them. And Some of the Lindenberger consultants are knowledgeable about these tools. Those tools are a very popular way for organizations to help their leaders become more self-aware. But there are also some things that you can do on your own. For an example, one of the things you can do is simply ask people who you work with what you can do better to work with them more effectively. You've probably heard of start, stop, continue. A lot of people will say they'll ask for an anonymous start, stop, continue, or they'll use a formal 360 feedback assessment to allow other people to share their perceptions of the leader without any retribution or the consequences of somebody saying something that's uncomfortable. But learning what somebody else thinks about you is the most important thing you can do, because then you can choose to act on it. Now, if you don't have access to those types of tools, there are some things you can do on your own. You can, at the end of every day, take 5 minutes to sit back and say, what did I do well today? And what was it that caused me to have success? What did I not do well today? And how did I contribute to that outcome? And what can I do tomorrow to be more effective? If you start to see a pattern of behavior in your own self, then really think about what am I doing on a regular basis that I need to change, and who in the environment, who in the organization can help me to be better at that. These questions require honest and explicit evaluation of ourselves, but they will help leaders to create an environment of greater interpersonal communications, trust, and greater productivity.
Great. Thank you, Linda. I am self-aware that we're at time where we need to wrap up today's podcast. Any final thoughts?
Well, yes, just be patient with yourself and with others. Self-awareness is a lifelong journey.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you, everybody. Again, this has been the Lindenberger Group Leadership Podcast. Um, the Lindenberger Group is an HR human resources consulting firm. We mostly provide services in New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, but of course, virtually from anywhere. We help organizations in three basic areas. One, HR consulting and outsourcing. Two, coaching and mentoring. And three, training and team building. And we're happy to work with organizations for fully customized solutions that would meet your own unique needs. If you're interested in finding out more, please visit us at lindenbergergroup.com, or you can call Judy Lindenberger at 609-730-1049. And again, I'm John Pizutelli, and thank you for spending some time with us today.